Boys, Dr. Phil is a very funny man. He just has this certain way about him. Perhaps it's his southern drawl, his inhuman professionalism, or his shiny bald head. But I always want to laugh while I'm watching Dr. Phil. And that's the thing. Dr. Phil is a funny show, even when it isn't supposed to be. There's a lot of episodes that are funny, and you can laugh at them without feeling bad. Spoiled teenager gets told off by Dr. Phil. Funny, everyone haha. But then there's much more serious episodes, like the 15-year-old pedophile. That one's fucked. At its core, Dr. Phil is entertainment, and a lot of the time, it's funny. But Dr. Phil also needs to bring in some serious cases, otherwise he's just a soap opera of these loud, brash people screaming at each other, dancing around like monkeys for our entertainment. He's a psychologist, or whatever, I think. I don't know what he is, but Dr. Phil is the best and worst show on television. Oh, and hey, as it turns out, sometimes people who watch my videos are subscribed. I'm not sure how to use this graph. I am sure that I want you to subscribe, so thanks. So let's look. What are the positives about Dr. Phil? Well, he basically humiliates bad parents week in and week out, and that's a very, very good thing. Instead of yelling at the kid who screams at his parents and plays video games 17 hours a day, Dr. Phil shames the parents who spoil and coddle the kid and give him the video games that he plays for 17 hours a day. He brings in former gang members to talk some sense into the whitest kids you've ever seen. He embarrasses young teenage girls who show up just to get clout. He speaks to them with the funniest yet sternest southern accent you've ever heard. At the end of the day, he helps people while also entertaining his viewers. He achieves exactly what is needed of a show of this type. And I don't think it's, I don't think we can ask any more of Dr. Phil than, do your job, make people laugh, that's how he is so popular, because, he's funny and he also does his job. That's how he still has his job. But let's just focus on that entertainment part of it for just a moment. He mostly entertains by being, as mentioned, being funny. But the absurdity of the situations that are brought onto the show are what makes for good comedic value. The problem is, absurd situations are not always funny, and that brings us to the negatives of Dr. Phil. Some of the people and situations that are brought onto Dr. Phil are not funny at all. They're disturbing, serious, straight up uncomfortable. But that's fine, because that deserves to be shown just as much as the funny ones, I think. Situations like that are the real world, and they deserve to be shown to the world, but the problem is, you're putting it next to situations that are nowhere near as serious. There is something so off-putting about having 15-year-old pedophile right next to dad makes son run in rain as punishment. It just feels very tasteless to have a heartbreaking, disturbing story slapped next to a slightly abusive dad being shamed by Dr. Phil. That's not even beginning to mention the times where Dr. Phil has only made things worse. Remember the whole Jeffree Star and Kanye West rumor? That was started by a girl who got famous because of Dr. Phil. She was brought there to help remedy her clout-chasing antics. Do you think it worked? Yeah, it was funny to see her mocked by Dr. Phil, but that did nothing to stop her from being mocked by everyone else. He did nothing to help that girl. And maybe, she did not want help. And I guess she's glad she didn't want help. But still, it was his job to remedy that situation, and not a thing changed. And that's where Dr. Phil sort of gets a little weird, because when he fails, it just ruins that situation even further. Imagine you go to an actual psychologist and you are talking to them, on a week in, week out basis, they're analyzing your mental health. and all of a sudden they just whip out like a video camera and they go, hey, you there, why don't you tell me how sad you are all the time? And you go, what are you talking about, man? This is supposed to be non-confidential. And he says, oh yeah, did your parents not love you? Oh, you suck so bad. And you're just sitting there and you're like, what is happening? Why are you doing this? And then he posts the video and it gets like well over 1 million views. I bet that's what it would be like to be on Dr. Phil. Maybe. I've never been. But yeah, also, do you guys remember Bad Baby? That person who existed, who got famous because of Dr. Phil? That's right. That stain on humanity was brought about by Dr. Phil. Isn't that awesome? She had a full-on music career started by just being an asshole on Dr. Phil. Can you believe that? Can you believe how easy life is for her? Dr. Phil once kicked a guest off stage because he was laughing at a inappropriate time. But the whole audience wanted to laugh too because it was funny. Well, it was kind of funny. I don't know. But the problem with Dr. Phil is that you don't always understand when you're supposed to laugh because the situations are, more often than not, nothing to laugh at. It's the reactions. And sometimes they don't blend well together. And you forget what you're watching, why you're watching it, what you ate for lunch that day. Dr. Phil can be confusing. Generally, I like Dr. Phil. I've been on a giant Dr. Phil kick on YouTube recently. Every time I look, there's at least one like 3-4 minute clip of Dr. Phil in my recommended, and it's always like, well, I mean, it's Dr. Phil, you know, how can I not watch? This looks like a funny clip, and then I watch it, and then there's 2 more in my recommended the next time it refreshes, and so on and so forth. It's like defeating a Hydra. Like the dragon with all the heads. That's what it feels like with Dr. Phil videos. They're just constantly one-upping each other too. Like, I thought they front-loaded them with like the best ones first. But then you get to that more obscure side of Dr. Phil. And it gets even better from there. Oh man, Dr. Phil is awesome. But not all the clips are funny. And when it isn't funny, it's hard to watch. Dr. Phil is hilarious, except for when it isn't. Dr. Phil is, indeed, the best and worst show on television. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and comment your favorite Dr. Phil episode, or I guess anything you can comment anything you want. Really, I can't stop you. I can only influence you. Just like how I'm influencing you to subscribe and watch another video. Ooh, you want to subscribe so bad. Ooh.